Well, this is something that I did not think we'd be talking about. Let's dive into the Montreal Canadiens and one of the better goalie stories they have had over the years. Samuel Montembeault, everybody, is a player the Canadiens initially picked up from the Florida Panthers on waivers. This happened multiple years ago, and I remember I was at the mall. We made a vlog about it right there in the middle of the alleys, and I was like, yeah, we got to talk about Montembeault. He's coming over from Florida. What an interesting goalie addition that the Panthers did not ultimately want to use in the NHL. So he was picked up by Montreal. And for a while, Montembeault actually was pretty good for the Montreal Canadiens. In that weird brief period where we started to see the end of Carey Price's career and Jake Allen was kind of the starter there as well. Caden Primo was still hovering around. Samuel Montembeault became the go-to option for Montreal. And he was good enough that last year he was able to help the Canadiens make the playoffs, where he actually did all right. He had a .908 save percentage in 3 games against the Washington Capitals. Of course, he wasn't really tasked as the main starter at that point, but hey, he had a .902 in the regular season that year, so Montembeault obviously was a pretty big piece of Montreal getting that far in the first place. But now, Sammy Montembeault has one more season left at $3.15 million a year. That's a pretty expensive mark for a guy that wasn't even really suiting up for the Canadiens at all during the playoffs. He wasn't the backup, he wasn't the starter. You had Jakub Dobeš and Jacob Fowler who took over those 2 roles. And while it's true Montembeault can be seen as somebody that really didn't provide much value for the Canadiens at all this season, it seems like there is more than meets the eye. Because now, we are asking questions as to whether or not Montembeault should get moved. And there was an article posted onto The Athletic the other day by Arpon Basu talking about how the Canadiens should strongly consider bringing Montembeault back. Here's why. The Athletic is paid for material, so we're not going to go out there and screen record this article, but it will be linked in the description if you want to read it yourself. This was posted onto the Habs sub, and there were a number of comments going out there and talking about why Montreal should bring back Montembeault. Take a look at this quote that was posted from the article. Montembeault said that we had a good talk when Jacob Fowler was called up. I got the example that Jeremy Swayman last year didn't have that good of a season, but came back, and this year he was a Vezina finalist. Marataru says interesting observation about Jeremy Swayman's off year, a useful reminder that when it comes to goalies, insisting that you know what you're going to get is absolute folly. I think there is a good chance Montembeault will find his mojo again, but I don't think Montreal's the best place he is going to do it. Give him a fresh start, and I wish him the best. And while it's true, Montembeault may have been tossed that ring of hope. Hey, guess what, man? Jeremy Swayman had a bad year last year, and then this year, he was able to get right back into the Vezina conversation. If Swayman can go from what was a pretty bad 8.92 to a 9.08 in the span of 1 year, then you can too, Sammy. Although I do think that these 2 situations are not comparable at all. Like, Jeremy Swayman was a part of the best goalie tandem in the NHL with him and Linus Ullmark. And then, guess what? The contract dispute happened, and he ended up missing all of training camp, and everything went bad. The Boston Bruins season wasn't really all too great either. Swayman, after being tasked with being the guy, posted up an 8.92. But 1 year later, after actually getting his affairs in order and being a part of a team that was actually willing to win and actually putting in the work to be a part of the team in training camp, Swayman puts up a 9.08. Great. He then has a .906 save percentage in the playoffs, which unfortunately featured some pretty bad blowouts. I mean, 6-1 loss to the Buffalo Sabres in what was Game 4. That may have been the turning point here, if we're being honest. Jeremy Swayman was not the problem for the Boston Bruins, all things considered. But to insinuate that Jeremy Swayman's story is an easily replicatable one, where a guy goes from an 892 to a 908, and that's easy for a guy like Montembeault to put himself in that same conversation, I do not think that that is as simple as it seems on the surface. The problem with the comparison is it's entirely predictable for a goalie to struggle when they miss all of camp in the preseason. Goalies are weird voodoo, but that guy Swayman wasn't with the team until like a day before the year started. Him cooling off significantly was the most predictable outcome. So, even though Montembeault may have been told by, supposedly, the Montreal Canadiens themselves that Jeremy Swayman is a prime example of what could happen, I don't think it's fair to say that Montembeault is in that same boat. Now, we did have some other comments made on the same thread. Monty is unbelievable, said Jakub Dobeš. I mean, the support that I got from him and Jacob Fowler throughout the playoffs, it's really unbelievable. Those guys were supporting me no matter what. Unbelievable teammates, both of them, really. 3 goalies is weird, but it was the best time we ever had. Always positive, always smiling, always laughing with jokes. We had a great time together. Now, we know 3 goalies may not actually be the best thing ever. Just talk to Allen, Price, and Primo about that. But Jakub Dobeš, for what he's saying, it does seem like Montembeault does provide a lot of value in regards to being a vibes guy rather than a player that actually suits up and plays. OK Tree says, Montembeault's crap performances cost the team the top spot in the Atlantic and maybe even the Eastern Conference, which would have given the Canadiens a much easier first-round opponent. He's a great guy, sure, but I'm much more confident giving the reins to Dobeš and Fowler, guys with a future in the club. Maybe keep Montembeault as a third, but nowhere near the starter. Your point is valid, but I'm glad we got the road we did this year. It will pay off in the long run. I actually agree with that point as well. Another reply goes out there and says this. People commenting, not understanding that this is about Fowler as much as it is about Samuel Montembeault. Fowler, big development year, and his season got interrupted. They did not want to call him up, but the Canadiens were forced to. If Samuel Montembeault gets moved, they still need to find a veteran goalie to have in the system. The season will be 84 games. Fowler and Dobeš do not have experience carrying the team for that long. They combine for 76 games played total. And Montembeault is an expiring UFA that can be moved at any moment during the season if needed, possibly brings back value instead of being a distressed asset like now. And I do think that from this perspective, a load management perspective, it is fair to talk about whether or not the Montreal Canadiens are really best set up to doing that properly if they have Dobeš and Fowler by themselves. Maybe you do need a third, a guy who is more of an experienced veteran, who has multiple seasons worth of NHL games played under his belt to actually serve as a tertiary option. Because Fowler and Dobeš, I mean, they're both rookies, right? Are they ready for an 84 NHL game season? Which I think in my brain, I'm going to have to start trying to get used to saying that more and more. 84 games, not 82. More games, eh? That's definitely why we are thinking more so about the longevity and the actual workload that these goalies have to go through. And Montembeault, as a guy that genuinely does seem to be well-liked in the room, I do think that there is value to bringing him back. It's just, he was so bad last season and so, quite frankly, useless in terms of the actual results of the team, that the debate to free up that money, $3.15 million, one more year, send it off to some other team that needs a goalie, it does seem to be a genuinely reasonable idea. Even though you have Arpon Basu strongly arguing against it. So, with all that said, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you think the Samuel Montembeault-Jeremy Swayman comparison actually makes sense? Do you think Montembeault should be on his way out from Montreal? How do you feel about all this and the Canadiens' goaltending as a whole? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sign on, and bye.